Welcome to or welcome back to my channel, True Crime Tuesdays, where we delve into the horrors of today's society. So today, we're sticking with my theme of true crime cases that have actually been made into Netflix shows. This is episode 3, The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel.
We begin with a disturbing development in the search for a young Vancouver woman in Los Angeles. Nearly 3 weeks after Elisa Lam went missing, a body has been found in a water tank on the roof of her hotel.
So, as per usual, we are going to start off with some disclaimers. I don't own anything such as videos, photos and intro music, and everything I have in my videos are all factually correct as they're what authorities and police have released to the public. I thought I'd address the factually correct statement I just made, as I saw a comment recently basically saying all my videos aren't correct, so yes, they are all fact-based and confirmed by authorities, and any that aren't I will be sure to point out in the future, such as public speculation and my own personal opinion, which I try to keep out the videos to avoid bias, but sometimes maybe it just needs to be addressed from my perspective. One last thing. YouTube analytics say that only a small percentage of you are actually subscribed, so if you do end up enjoying this video, be sure to subscribe as it helps me out a lot with my channel. Now that all that's out the way, let's get on with today's case. As per usual, some backstory to the hotel and this case. So, the Cecil Hotel was opened in 1927 after 4 years of construction in downtown LA. Since its opening, it's had its fair share of murders, suicides, and even some serial killers called it home for a short while. So, like I said, the hotel was beginning to be built in 1924, and it was owned and the whole thing was orchestrated by a man by the name of William Banks Hanna, and originally it was built for businessmen and so-called social elites. A huge $1 million was invested in this project. If you think that alone is a lot, then you clearly haven't seen the inflation since then. $1 million in 1924 would be around $16,591,578.95 now. This huge increase is said to be caused because the average inflation rate is 2.91% per year, and that over the course of 98 years, meaning it's increased by 1,559.16%. So, all this money was spent on 700 rooms, a marble lobby, glass-stained windows, palm trees, and a very elegant staircase. This was due to the fact that the hotel is said to be a borough arts type style. This huge investment, however, proved to be something Hannah would regret, as 3 years after the Cecil opened, the US was thrown into the Great Depression and LA was not immune from the social collapse of 1929. The area around the hotel was known during and after 1929 as Skid Row, which was home to thousands upon thousands of people. The Cecil Hotel was now a meeting place for drug addicts, runaways and all sorts of criminals, and then got a reputation for violence and death. The Cecil Hotel, that once stood in light and glory, began to fall apart as death numbers began to roll in. In the 1930s by itself there were 6 reported suicides. Some residents drank poison or shot themselves, while others took the route of slitting their own throats or jumping out of the bedroom windows. And due to the hotel having 700 rooms, you can imagine the size of the hotel itself, but if you can't, here's an image to clear things up a bit. Anyway, for example, in 1934, Army Sergeant Louis D. Borden slashed his own throat with a razor. Another example happened less than 4 years later. Roy Thompson of the Marine Corps jumped from the top of the Cecil Hotel and was found on the skylight of the building next to it. You must be thinking, it can't get much worse than that surely. You'd be wrong. In September 1944, a young 19-year-old girl named Dorothy Jean Purcell woke in the middle of the night due to stomach pains while she was staying at the hotel with a man named Ben Levine. He was aged 38 at the time. Then Dorothy went to the bathroom in an attempt to not wake up Ben and actually gave birth to a baby boy. Dorothy later claimed she did not know she was pregnant, and before everyone kicks off in the comments, it is actually possible to not know you're pregnant when you actually are. It's known as a cryptic pregnancy or a stealth pregnancy. These bypass normal pregnancy tests as they just fail to detect them. Now you must be thinking, that's not too bad, right? A mother gave birth to a baby. Congratulations, I hope you both are okay, so forth and so on. That's not the worst part. Dorothy mistakenly thought her baby was dead, and upon not realising he was alive and well, she threw her newborn out of the window and onto the roof of the building next door to the Cecil. At her trial, she was found not guilty of murder by reason of insanity and was sent to a hospital for psychiatric treatment. And now, some more horror stories from before 2013. In 1962, George Giannani, a 65-year-old male, was walking by the Cecil, hands in his pockets, when he was struck and actually killed by a fallen woman. This woman was later identified as Pauline Otten, a 27-year-old female who jumped from her room on the 9th floor after an argument with her husband Dewey. According to police and people on the scene, her fall killed both Pauline and George instantly. Police initially thought that they'd jumped together, but after finding George still had his shoes on, that changed their minds, as his shoes would have fallen off mid-fall. That, unfortunately, is not all. In the mid-1980s, the serial killer Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker, a murderer of 13 people, 5 attempted murders and 11 assaults, lived in a room on the top floor of the hotel during a huge percentage of his killing spree. After killing someone, Ramirez said he would throw his bloody clothes in the Cecil Hotel's dumpster and saunter in the hotel lobby. Doing this, apparently he'd either be completely naked or just in his underwear. At the time, Ramirez was able to stay there for just $14 a night. In 1991, Austrian serial killer Jack Unterweger, or the Vienna Strangler, also called the hotel home for a while, and rumour has it he specifically chose it due to his connection with Ramirez. There wasn't many similarities between the two killers. Unterweger killed prostitutes by strangling them with their own bras, whilst Ramirez had a more occultist view. However, this isn't the only reason he specifically chose this hotel. At the time, it was a hotspot for prostitutes, and he had a tendency to stalk them in search of more victims. The second most well-known fact about this hotel is that a very well-known guest stayed there in 1947 by the name of Elizabeth Short. Name ring any bells? I'll give you a minute. Still no? Well, Elizabeth Short is formerly known as the Black Dahlia after her murder in 1947. It was said that she had stayed and was seen drinking at the hotel bar just before she was mutilated, and her case has gone cold and remains unsolved to this very day. Any connection from her death to the Cecil Hotel is unknown and probably never will be known, but what is known is that she was found on a street not too far away on January 15th, 1947, with her mouth carved area and her body cut in two. I know what you must be thinking. Get on with the story. Okay, no more backstory. Just today's case. Elisa Lam, 2013. This probably has more recognition than the others due to the invention of the wonderful thing known as social media, but here's a breakdown of what happened to her as of January 31st, 2013. The days leading up to her disappearance on that date are going to be mentioned too. On January 26th, 2013, 21-year-old Canadian college student Elisa Lam arrived in LA after coming from the Amtrak train from San Diego and was headed to Santa Cruz as part of an independent trip around the west coast of America. This trip in question was supposed to be a getaway from her studies, as she studied at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada, but nobody could predict that she would never return home alive. Her parents didn't really want her to go travelling alone in the first place, especially due to the distance. However, they did come up to a resolution of this problem. Elisa promised to check in with her parents to show she was safe and nothing had happened. This very agreement on Elisa's part is why her parents began to get concerned when they didn't hear from her January 31st, which is the day she was supposed to check out of the hotel. Her parents came to the conclusion to contact LAPD, but after a search of the premises by officers, she was nowhere to be found. Police asked the hotel for CCTV footage and left everyone both confused and concerned for the girl's safety. Here's the surveillance footage they pulled. This footage shows Elisa in a lift or elevator, whatever you want to call it, on the day she went missing, acting very strangely. The footage is quite pixelated, but you can see her stepping into the lift and pushing all the buttons, but the lift doesn't budge. She steps in and out of the lift every so often, poking her head out sideways and looking both ways down the corridor. She looks out a few more times, and due to the lack of movement from the lift not moving, she steps out. In the last couple of minutes of this nearly 4-minute long video, she is seen to be moving her hands around in random gestures as if talking to someone, and this goes on for a good 10 to 20 seconds. Around 25 seconds later, the lift door shuts and opens again on the same floor, and then goes to a few different floors before the footage cuts. Nobody else is caught in this footage except Elisa. The video is on YouTube and has been seen by people all over the world, including China, where the Lam family is originally from. Extensive searches for her happened over the next few weeks, but not much came of it until February 29th, a few weeks after the video was published by authorities. On this day, a maintenance worker named Santiago Lopez was responding to customer complaints of low water pressure and a weird taste coming from the hotel's drinking water. He took the lift to the 15th floor of the hotel and walked up the staircase to the roof. He then had to turn off the hotel's security alarm system and climbed up to the platform where the 4 water tanks were held. After this, he climbed up yet another ladder to get to the top of the main tank. He noticed the hatch to the main tank was open and saw Elisa's body lying dead around 12 inches from the top of the tank. And yes, this does mean other people staying at the hotel had been drinking the water Elisa's body was decomposing in. A statement made by the LA Fire Department's chief claimed that the tank in which her body had been found in had to be completely drained and cut open from the side to remove her body. Just for reference, she was 5'4" at the time. To this day, nobody knows how Elisa's body ended up in the water tank, or even if someone else had been involved. Authorities thought that this might be the case as Elisa was naked when they found her in the tank. However, hotel staff had told the police Elisa was always seen by herself in the hotel. It was later discovered at least one person saw her, though, before her death. Elisa had visited a bookshop earlier that day named The Last Bookstore. The owner, named Katie Orphan, was one of the last people to see her alive and remembered Elisa came in to buy books and music for her family back in Vancouver. When interviewed by CBS LA, Katie told them that it seemed like she had plans to return home, plans to give things to her family members and reconnect with them. When the autopsy results came out for Elisa's case, it brought more questions than answers to authorities. The toxicology report showed she had consumed a number of medically prescribed drugs, which was likely for her bipolar disorder. Elisa had bipolar 1, which had symptoms including depression, which also included feeling sad, hopeless, irritable, lacking energy, difficulty concentrating, being delusional, having hallucinations, and disturbed neurological thinking. Another main symptom is mania, which includes feeling very happy, talking quickly, full of energy, easily distracted, being delusional, having hallucinations, disturbed neurological thinking, doing things with disastrous consequences, and making decisions or saying things out of character that others may see as risky or harmful. These can either have rapid cycling or mixed state. There was no alcohol or illegal substances in her body at the time of her autopsy. However, the autopsy brought out 3 key observations. 1. She had taken at least 1 antidepressant that day. 2. She had taken her second antidepressant and a mood stabilizer recently, but not the day she died. 3. She had not taken her antipsychotic recently. These results gave the conclusion that she had not been taking her medication properly. Now is probably a good time to mention that using antidepressants to treat bipolar disorder can actually induce maniac side effects if not done properly. After all of this information was released to the general public, people pounced at any information they could get their hands on in hopes of solving the mystery behind her death, and some people speculated the video could have been her in a manic state. The hotel manager at the time, Amy Price's statement, strongly supports this theory. She told the court that Elisa originally booked a shared room with other people. However, due to multiple complaints of odd behaviour from the roommates, she was moved to a private room all by herself. The autopsy didn't show any sort of foul play from processed evidence, but the coroners in charge of Elisa's autopsy said they couldn't do a full exam as they couldn't examine her blood, as Elisa's body was decomposing. David and Elisa Lam filed for a wrongful death suit against the Cecil Hotel after all this had occurred. The Lam's lawyer claimed it was the hotel's duty to inspect and seek out hazards in the hotel that presented an unreasonable risk to the individual, in this case Elisa, and other hotel guests. The hotel shot back at these allegations and filed a motion to dismiss the case against them, and the lawyer in charge of their defence argued that the hotel had no reason to think that someone would be able to get to the tanks on the roof. Due to what I mentioned earlier about how difficult it is to get into the tank in the first place, it seems stupid to think she could have done that alone without anyone noticing or hearing anything. Elisa would have had to deactivate the alarm to get there. If it was triggered, then the sound of the alarm would reach most of the hotel, including the front desk. The LA Superior Court judge ruled the death of Elisa Lam as unforeseeable, and the case against the Cecil Hotel was dismissed. In the years following this case, multiple TV shows were both inspired and recounted the unfortunate circumstances following the Elisa Lam case, such as American Horror Story Hotel, which is the 5th season in the franchise. The director said it was inspired by a surveillance video from a Los Angeles-based hotel that surfaced 2 years ago. The footage showed a girl in an elevator who was never seen again. This was an obvious reference to Elisa's famous elevator video. And of course, the documentary The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel on Netflix was a recount of her disappearance and death, which included multiple interviews with staff and footage from the hotel. This is what got Elisa's case widely heard, and this is the first time I heard about it was from that documentary, which I found to be quite strange. I thought I'd cover it for that exact reason, because nobody really knows what happened. There's many speculations about what happened. Some people think that the hotel had some foul play, while others think it was Elisa's bipolar disorder acting up. Either way, it's very unfortunate circumstances about how she died, and my condolences go out to the family of Elisa Lam. This case nearly happened 10 years ago, but it's probably still fresh in their memories. So that was the basis of the Elisa Lam case. I know that this video is probably going to be shorter than other videos I've put out recently, and that is due to the fact that I don't really have time as of right now due to my GCSEs coming up in a few weeks, which is going to mess with my upload schedule. So if uploads are sort of all over the place, that's why, but there will be a video out as soon as I possibly can. So still regarding the case, any opinions, feel free to share in the comments. Just don't be rude about it, like there's just no need. Like I said at the start, all these videos are fact checked by authorities and police. That's where I get my information from. I don't make any of this up, but feel free to share your thoughts on this evidence. And if you do decide to comment, like I said, just keep it respectful. Like, I'm 16, I don't need to be reading sort of hate comments, so to speak. Especially if it's unprovoked, untriggered. But if there is, it will just be deleted. There's just no need. So, if you did enjoy today's video, feel free to check out the rest of my videos on my channel, and like and subscribe and turn on post notifications to never miss another upload. And until next time, this was True Crime Tuesdays.